Have you ever been somewhere where there was no one else and heard someone whisper your name softly? My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 28 years old, and I've been working as a forest ranger in Alaska's Tongass National Forest since 2019. I have to tell you what happened to me that winter day. I'm not writing this because I'm good at it, but because I want you to know this is real, even if no one believes it. Let me be clear. This is a true story, and they tried to cover it up because the file was accidentally deleted. My section chief, Mike Henderson, told me it would be better to close the case. The official record stated the ranger returned safely with minimal equipment damage. My mom called every day for 3 weeks and saying, "Son, maybe you should take a break." But I know what I saw and heard in that forest, and that thing was still out there waiting. In December 2022, it was my turn for the winter inspection in the Steiking River area near Wrangell. The mission was report on the Northern Ridge, Glacier Point, Devil's Canyon, and Whispering Creek cabins, then return. It was routine work. I had completed similar routes at least 20 times and knew the equipment list by heart. This job had gone smoothly as always. How could I have known this would be the last time? On the morning of December 14th, I woke up early and checked my equipment. I checked everything in my bag. 10 days worth of food, a first aid kit, a radio, a flashlight, canned beans, signal flares. When my dad retired, he gave me his Smith & Wesson pistol, saying it was in case the bears woke up. How could I have known this gun would come in so handy? On the morning of December 15th, Marcus was cracking his usual jokes as we boarded the helicopter. "A 10-day silent retreat, huh?" "I'm not jealous at all," he teased. "Come on, Marcus. I'll let you listen to the wolves howl," I replied. I wish I had listened to him and chosen not to go. The helicopter descended over the Stikine River Valley. Below, I saw miles of white and green. Seeing the wilderness always excited me. Alaska's beauty reminds you how insignificant you are, but it also means that if something goes wrong, you're completely on your own. Marcus dropped me off at the first cabin, Northern Ridge Station. The cabin was 4 by 4 meters, with wooden walls, surrounded by pine trees, a small stove, and nothing else. "I'll pick you up from the same spot in 10 days, Daniel. If there's a problem, use the emergency frequency, and I'll come get you," Marcus added. "Okay, Marcus, don't worry, it's routine work. I'll be back in 10 days, I said. Marcus's helicopter took off and became a small dot, then disappeared completely. Then the only thing I could hear was the rustling of the wind in the pine trees. The first 3 days went smoothly. The equipment was working. I checked the windows for stability, took notes. At night, I made hot soup by the stove and read books. Being alone in the Alaskan winter was nice at first. I was relaxing. No phone, no email, just nature. I could hear the sound of the wind and the sound of snowflakes falling. Every evening at 8 o'clock, I reported to Marcus via radio. "Base, this is Reeves. Situation normal. Route continuing." On the morning of December 18th, I set out for Glacier Point, the second cabin. It was a 6-hour hike, mostly uphill. Around noon, I stopped to drink some water, and my hair stood on end because the forest was completely silent. I was working as an experienced ranger in the Alaskan forests. When the animals fell silent, it meant something was wrong. Either a storm was approaching or something had frightened the animals. I looked up at the sky. There weren't even any clouds, and it wasn't snowing. There were no paw prints in the snow, no bear, no wolf, no deer. It was an unsettling, suffocating silence. I scanned the trees 360 degrees with my eyes, but I couldn't see anything. Yet I could feel my hair standing on end. It was that feeling of someone watching you. "Come on, Daniel. Stop being silly. You've been alone for 3 days," I said aloud. I took a deep breath and started moving. I reached the Glacier Point cabin at 4 p.m. The sky was rapidly darkening. This cabin was in a more dangerous location than the other one, on the edge of a deep valley next to a cliff. There was nothing for miles around, just mountains and endless whiteness. When I opened the door, a strange smell hit my nose. The inside of the cabin was a mess. Canned food cans were scattered. The table was overturned. Items had fallen from the shelves. A window pane was shattered, and snow had even gotten inside. My first thought was a bear. Bears would enter cabins in summer looking for food, but in December, bears were hibernating, and everyone knew that. I saw a footprint in the snow inside, but only one pair, the same size as my boots. When I looked at the footprint, I was surprised. The boots were the same type I wore. The print was exactly the kind my Alaska winter boots would leave, but I hadn't taken my boots off. So someone else had been here. Maybe Mike had sent someone else and forgotten to tell me? But why didn't they tell me? There should have been a call on the radio. A ranger would never leave things this messy behind. I went outside and followed the footprints. They led toward the rocks, but then they suddenly stopped. It was as if the person walking had vanished into thin air. I looked around, no other footprints, just snow and silence. My heart started racing. Did the wind erase them? Did the snow cover them? But if it was the wind, the other tracks would be gone too. Yet the tracks from the hut to here were pristine. I looked up. There was no disturbance on the rocks. I turned on my radio. Marcus, Daniel here. Something strange is going on. Someone has been to Glacier Point. Did you know? Negative, Daniel. Only you went out, no one else. Is there a problem? There are ranger boot prints, Marcus, like mine. But I'm wearing mine and no one else should be here. Daniel, you're completely alone up there. Walker used that route last month, Daniel. They're probably his tracks. Impossible, Marcus. These tracks were made today. The snow cover's fresh. There was a long silence. Marcus didn't answer. Okay, Daniel. He's probably an illegal hunter. They come sometimes. Is your gun with you? Yes, sir. My gun is with me. Okay, stay in the cabin tonight. Check the area in the morning. Report back at 8 p.m. Understood, Marcus. I returned to the cabin, pulled the bolt, covered the broken window with a board. I lit the stove, but I jumped at every little sound. I spent the night sleepless, every sound making me jump. Every creak made me reach for my gun. Once in the middle of the night, it felt like someone touched the door latch, but I couldn't be sure. I grabbed my gun, held my breath, and listened at the door. I heard nothing but silence. I don't know, but have you ever experienced something like this? Feeling like you're being watched in a place where you know no one else is there? If you have, share your story in the comments. Maybe we can help each other, because that night in the cabin, I definitely wasn't alone. When morning came, I found the courage to open the door. Only yesterday's footprints remained. I checked the cabin, wrote my equipment report, and didn't want to stay a second longer. The next station was 12 miles away, and I'd have to walk all day to get there. I was paranoid the whole way, constantly turning my head, as if someone were following me. I walked for miles and miles, didn't meet anyone, just silence. I took a break at noon and sat down at the foot of a tree to rest. I was checking the map when I caught a movement out of the corner of my eye. Someone was standing completely still between the trees. Their face was turned towards me. My heart raced. "Hey, you there! Who are you?" I shouted. There was no response, just standing there. I quickly found the binoculars in my backpack and pressed them to my eyes. And in that moment, everything froze. That person looked like me. Same jacket, same backpack, even my hat. I couldn't make out the facial details from a distance, but the body shape, everything, it was me. My head was spinning because it was like I was looking at myself. "It can't be," I said to myself, my voice trembling. I lowered the binoculars, took a deep breath, then looked again. The figure was gone. No one was there anymore. I couldn't help myself. I started running towards him. It was illogical, but I had to run, perhaps searching for a trace or some evidence. When I reached the spot where the figure had stood, it was as if no one had ever been there. My hands began to tremble. My breathing quickened. "Calm down, Daniel. You're just tired. This can't be real. You're imagining things, I told myself. But I knew it wasn't an illusion. What I saw was real. I arrived at the Devil's Canyon cabin in the evening darkness. It was a larger place than the previous ones. When I opened the door, it was tidy, nothing was out of place, and I relaxed a little. First, I checked all the windows. None were broken. They were all intact. Then I locked the door twice. I lit a fire, drank some soup, but I felt uneasy. At 8 o'clock, I called Marcus. Marcus, this is Reeves. I'm at Devil's Canyon. Everything's working. Okay, Daniel, but how are you? Marcus asked, his voice sounding concerned. I'm fine, Marcus. Just tired. Did anything else strange happen, Daniel? I didn't know what to say. Should I tell the truth or keep quiet? If they called me back, they'd write psychological issues in my report, and my career could be over. No, everything's normal. No problem. Okay, check Whispering Creek tomorrow. The helicopter will pick you up the day after. Understood, Marcus. See you tomorrow. Take care, Daniel. I turned off the radio. My loneliness returned. That night, I had a nightmare. In my dream, I was in the forest. My twin was watching me. Wherever I went, he was there too. It was mimicking my every move, doing exactly what I did. Then it turned its face toward me. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just a dark hole. My voice was gone. I was screaming, but nothing came out of my mouth. Suddenly, I woke up, panting and drenched in sweat. It was 3 in the morning, pitch black outside. A faint light came from the stove. That's when I heard a sound from outside. It was the sound of footsteps on the snow. The steps were slow, circling the cabin. I got up quietly, took out my gun. I approached the window and peered out, only my eyes visible. There was a figure in the moonlight. Something human-shaped was approaching. It was wearing the same clothes as me. That thing looked like me. Yet I was standing inside the cabin. That thing moved toward the window and stopped right in front of me. It leaned against the glass and looked at me. I looked at its face. It was my face, but the eyes weren't normal. They were black, soulless. There was no emotion, like a corpse. Its mouth moved, saying something, but I couldn't understand what it was saying. Open the door. It kept repeating the same thing. Open the door, Daniel. Open the door. I pointed the gun at it and shouted, Get out of here. You are not me. It laughed, laughing with my voice. It was familiar, but terrifying. Then he pounded his fist against the glass. Once, twice, 3 times. Harder, harder, the glass shook. I heard cracking sounds. The glass was breaking. Get out, I yelled and fired. The bullet pierced the glass. It hit the figure right in the middle, but nothing happened. The bullet went through, but there was no blood, no wound. It just stopped. It started laughing again. It slowly moved to the front of the door. It turned the handle. The metal creaked, but it didn't open. Suddenly, the sound stopped. I couldn't hear anything anymore. I stayed like that until morning. I didn't put the gun down. Every second, I thought that thing would come back, but it didn't. When morning came, I found the courage. The footprints circled the area 4 times. The tracks disappeared toward the trees. About 100 meters later, the tracks stopped. Then they ended at a point. Where the bullet had hit, blood had dripped onto the ground. But the color was strange, dark reddish black, like it had clotted. The smell was disgusting, like a corpse. I turned on the radio. Marcus! Marcus, can you hear me? Static! Marcus! Daniel, is there a problem? I can't hear you clearly. Marcus, send the helicopter now. I need to get out of here. Daniel, calm down. What did you see? There's something, Marcus. I can't explain it. Something is following me. It looks like me, but it's not me. Marcus didn't respond. Seconds passed as I waited. All right, Daniel, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning. Send your location. For God's sake, Marcus, please come early. I'll wait until tomorrow. That day, I didn't leave the cabin. I boarded up the window and didn't step outside. I didn't put out the fire, but I kept the gun in my hand. I heard voices throughout the night. "Daniel, open the door, Daniel. Don't be afraid." The voice was mine, but I held my ground and didn't open the door. On the morning of December 21st, at 9 o'clock, I relaxed for the first time when I heard the sound of a helicopter. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard in my life. I opened the door. Marcus jumped out of the helicopter, and his eyes widened when he looked at my face. "God, Daniel, you look terrible. What happened to you?" he said. Just get me out of here, Marcus. Let's get out of this forest." I got on the helicopter, and as we ascended, I looked out the window at the forest. It was still there, looking at me. Its face was mine, but it wasn't me, and it never would be. Marcus didn't look down, so he didn't see anything. Only I could see that thing. When I returned to the Ketchikan base, I met with Mike and wrote everything I saw in the report. Mike Henderson listened, then put the file in his drawer and locked it. "Daniel, you've been under a lot of stress. Your job is tough. Get some rest. But officially, this report won't exist. Take a month off. Spend time with your family." "But Mike, I'm not lying. A month off, Daniel. Case closed. Officially, nothing happened. The system only has a routine return record. My family sent me to a therapist, gave me medication, and said it was post-traumatic stress. The psychiatrist said it was extreme loneliness, sleep deprivation, and stress. No matter what anyone says, there was something in that forest. When I look at myself in the mirror at night, sometimes my eyes seem to turn black for a moment. As I walk past shop windows, I notice my reflection lingering for a few extra seconds watching me. A week ago, a package arrived at my doorstep. There was a note inside. The handwriting was mine. The letters were completely mine. But it was impossible because I didn't write it. The note simply said, "We will meet again." I haven't returned to Alaska. I quit my job as a forest ranger. Now I live in Portland, staying within the city. I make sure not to be alone. But he is there, waiting for me in the Alaskan forests. Sometimes I think, maybe I'm not alone. Maybe others have encountered it too. Have you ever encountered yourself in an impossible place? If you've had experiences like this, share them in the comments. You're not alone, because I need someone to understand me too. If you go into the Alaskan forests, don't go alone. Never stay alone. Check the mirrors. And if you see yourself outside, don't let yourself in. Because whatever is out there, whatever is waiting, it wants more than just a ranger now. Thank you for listening to this story. You decide if it's real. I even wonder sometimes, was it real? But I feel it inside me. That thing is still waiting. If you want to hear more real stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. In the next video, I might be sharing your story. Let's meet in the comments. I'm waiting for your story. See you in the next story. Unless that thing found you, of course. Maybe right now your reflection is watching you.